Good morning. Welcome to the Coach's IDP Studs and Rankings podcast for week 11. I'm Coach, and we're going to spend some time today talking about injuries and rankings. A whole slew of injuries going into week 11. Need to, kind of double check our rosters when we start setting our lineups for tonight and this weekend. Make sure that we don't have guys, obviously, that are designated as out or on the IR, or they also are on a bye, possibly. So those guys are essentially, not going to help us, with point differentials for, going against our opponents. So let's dive right into it. There's quite a few injuries on the watch for week 11. So Zaire Franklin, linebacker for the Indianapolis Colts, he's got a knee issue. It's kind of been a nagging issue for the last 3 or 4 weeks. He is on a bye this week, but it may trickle into week 12. So definitely want to kind of keep a look on the waiver wire. And he might be a stash guy. If somebody drops him because he's on a bye week, he would be a good one to go ahead and stash if you have the room. Jordan Brooks, linebacker, Seattle Seahawks, has got dealing with a hamstring injury. He's somebody that has played very well this year, and he's somebody that if he's not in the middle of their defense, that there's going to be a big hole there, and they're going to have to find a way to get some other guys to step up and make plays for the Seahawks. We talked about a pickup last week, Javon Bentley, linebacker with the Patriots, and now he's dealing with a hamstring injury. So it's kind of a revolving door in New England right now at their linebacker spot and also defensively. But they've got many more issues, I believe, than just on the defensive side. So Terrell Bernard, linebacker, Buffalo Bills, played really well the other night. He was all around, had some pretty good stats starting in, and then he ended up with a concussion. So he's probably in the concussion protocol. Not sure if he'll be available this weekend or not. So we want to keep our eye on him as their linebacker crew is kind of dwindling down here. So keep an eye on him. Andre Cisco, safety, Jacksonville Jaguars. He's dealing also with a hamstring. So don't know why we have so many hamstring injuries going into, week 11. Possibly some areas that they're playing, it's a little colder than other places. But it's kind of going around. It's become contagious. So look for the next man up in Jacksonville and go from there. Rudy Ford, safety, Green Bay, is dealing with a calf injury, and we kind of know calf injuries can linger on for a while. Bengals had to deal a little bit with that with their quarterback. So, keep an eye and see if Rudy Ford gets cleared and is ready to play this weekend also. Tyson Campbell, cornerback for Jacksonville Jaguars, he's got a hamstring. So, I know they took a beating this weekend by San Francisco, both offensively and defensively. So, that might be, some reason why their conditions are, on the injured portion. So keep an eye on him. And, that obviously with 2 guys already, questionable, their secondary is going to be successful for, the passing game. So Javon Hargrave, he's got a knee injury. San Francisco, obviously, you don't want to lose a player like that. But adding some players at the trade deadline, Chase Young coming in as a defensive end, they could take another defensive end and slide him down in the defensive tackle area if need be, and kind of do some things there. course, Nick Bosa can kind of play anywhere on the field to help out. So Marlon Humphreys is supposed to play tonight. He's dealing with a hamstring. The last thing I saw on him was that he was questionable, and it's probably going to come down to a game time decision. But that's early today, so we'll see as the day goes on. Kenny Clark, defensive tackle, Green Bay Packers, dealing with a shoulder injury. That's tough on a defensive tackle if you've got shoulder injuries or anything that's upper body that causes problems when you're fighting off blocks from the offensive lineman and making tackles at the line of scrimmage. So keep an eye on him with his shoulder. Carlton Davis, cornerback for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's dealing with a toe injury. I don't know if they've called it just a normal toe injury or a turf toe or what it is, but we'll see if he dresses and plays this weekend also. Jamel Dean is another corner for the same Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's dealing with a concussion and concussion protocol. Usually I would say Thursday, if they don't get, that taken off of their tag by Friday morning and they don't practice, then they're probably not going to suit up for the weekend. So keep our eye on him and see if he becomes eligible for this weekend. Kalea Cansey, defensive tackle, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's dealing with a quad injury. Tampa Bay sounds like they're a little beat up right now. So Cansey's going to be a really, really good player in the NFL. He's a rookie this year. So they're probably going to be caution with him. Make sure that they take care of him correctly because I think he's got huge upside moving forward. Miles Bryant, cornerback for New England Patriots. He's dealing with a chest injury. It's hard to explain whether, it's, broken bone or if it's just bruised up or if it's just hampering him to breathe. Don't know. So we'll just have to keep our eye and see what designation he gets closer to the weekend. Another guy in the New England secondary, Jonathan Jones, is dealing with a knee injury. And they've also already lost Christian Gonzalez for the year. Kyle Duggar can't cover everybody. As good as he is, he's not going to be able to do, that covering for everybody else. So, let's keep our eye on the Patriots and see where they're at. I do believe they're on a bye also this week, so maybe they'll get healthy at the right time. But they're dealing with some other issues also, and they've got to do quite a bit to get right. So, Greg Newsome, cornerback for Cleveland Browns, groin injury. He had an outstanding game, I believe, on Thursday, or last time they played against Baltimore. Might have been Sunday night. But he just played really, really well. So hopefully he can play again this week. They're going to rely a lot now on their defense to do even more so than what they had been doing in the past with the injury to their quarterback. Steven Nelson, cornerback for the Houston Texans, is dealing with a back and neck injury. If you've ever had an injury to your back, that's probably, one of the worst pains you can have other than maybe a root canal type thing. So keep our eye on him, and hopefully he can play. And the last one here, Logan Hall, defensive end for Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's dealing with a groin injury also. So they've got some guys up front that are injured and some guys in their secondary. So we'll see which direction Tampa Bay goes from here, continuing their season. So We talk about these injuries, and so some of them are designated during the week to kind of give them extra day off, maybe 2 days off during the week, but have them prepared to play at the end of the week. So some of these guys may be in that situation. I don't think any of them are on the IR going forward as of right now. So, we just got to keep our eye on the waiver wire and make sure when you're setting your IDP lineups, you are checking their designation for whether they're out, questionable, IR, or on a bye week, and have to make those changes, as quickly as possible to get the right guys in your lineup to help you win. So let's talk a little bit about waiver wire pickups. So there's some guys that I like this week. Let me get to my page here. And so we had a question or two this week, so I want to kind of answer that. And it was a rankings question. So the question was, with all the injuries that we've been having, are guys going to move from one specific position ranking to another? So how I took the question and answered it is, some of the guys are set as a linebacker, but now their percentages are moving upward to like if they're a defensive end. So they're playing more on the defensive line than they're playing on at the linebacker position, or vice versa. So they may be losing some of their guys at the linebacker position, and so now they're taking some defensive end athletes that have some linebacker background, and putting them into a scheme, like a 3-4 scheme to solidify those positions. So it's difficult, during the week to possibly change from a 4-3 to a 3-4 on, the technique wise, and just understanding the ins and outs of that position, unless you've played that before, like in college or for another organization in the NFL. So if you have done that before, I think it's a lot easier, obviously, to make that change, whether it's making that change from here on out or just making that change for the week. So I thought it was a good question. So trying to answer those. But ranking wise, as I look at rankings and stuff, I didn't put that into play this week. I still kept my guys where they were at, position wise. A couple minor changes in the way we ranked them, but for the most part, we're going to look at the numbers, this next week and see. I'll use an example, Micah Parsons. Micah Parsons is ranked real high as a linebacker, 1 or 2, or as a defensive end, I'm sorry. But, now he's walking back and playing more linebackers. So we'll have to see on his snap total and where he is playing, lining up and what position he's playing more of as the season goes on. So great question. Hopefully I answered that okay for you. And we'll see if there's any changes coming up here soon. So waiver wire for week 11, the IDP watch. Due to injuries and buys, here are some players that I tweeted out and thought that would be good to look at, that could possibly still be on your waiver wire, or because of buys and injuries, they were dropped, and they may be coming back in a week or so. So they could be picked up and stashed and go from there. So a lot of people I've seen in the leagues that I'm in have kind of solidified their defensive guys of who they want and where they're at. So they're not making as many changes as they were back in week, 3, 4, 5. They're starting to solidify, exactly who they want, where they want to put them, and go from there. So I'm surprised I haven't seen, with all the injuries, more trades that are being done in the IDP football leagues. But some people are uh, more concerned about the offensive stats than the defensive stats. And we've talked about that a little bit also, where, don't chase tackles, don't chase interceptions, don't chase forced fumbles. Everybody that's playing defense as a starter is getting an opportunity to get stats for everybody. So just keep that in mind. Don't chase those guys unless they're the top 5 tier guys, or top 5 guys in tier 1 for your position, um, for your team. Week 11, waiver wire. So Kyle Hamilton, safety, Baltimore. He is really coming on. Um, there are so many defensive backs that are really, really good. Um, and he's just a big, large body safety who, makes plays and runs down outside runs. Um, he's a guy that, if he's on the waiver wire, he's somebody I want. Out of Notre Dame, second year, can really get after the ball carrier, and also can play the pass very well. He could be a cover corner, I believe. He's got the height, he's got the speed, but he's probably suited better for a strong safety position. Cam Taylor-Britt, cornerback for Cincinnati. They've had some injuries in their backfield, and he got an opportunity a few weeks back to play, and I think he's lined up in there as a starter now, or a major rotation guy. So if he's on your waiver wire, he's somebody to add also. Last week, I wanted to put Kenny Moore on there. Wanted to wait a week and see if it was really, going to perform, somewhat like he did the week before with the 2 interceptions, pick 6, and stuff like that. But he's watching him closely on some film and games and stuff, that he is really very active and puts up some really good stats from the defensive secondary. So can't imagine he's still out there, but if he is, again, being on a bye week, people may drop him and try to pick him back up. So if you can get him this week and stash him, that would be a great add to your team. Taron Johnson, cornerback for Buffalo. Buffalo's got some injuries. They've got some problems in the secondary, having trouble covering people, having trouble staying healthy. So he's one kind of down the line a little bit, but if you really have to have somebody to fill a spot for you, he's not a bad find on the waiver wire. Jordan Whitehead, safety for New York Giants, is really playing well. I think in the last 2-3 weeks, he's come up with a few interceptions and forced fumbles, tackling. He's around the ball, and this is somebody that I really didn't know much about, so I had to dive in and take a look after I saw him on TV play. And he's got some legit numbers, and he's going to be one of those guys that really want to keep our eye on. And again, if you've got a spot where he needs to, he can help you, whether a stash or whether you have an opening. He would be a good one to pick up also. So those are 6 guys, or 5 guys that, I think that would be very helpful. The the guys that you want to have. Again, and I talked about this a little bit last week. Um, Teams that are blowing people out, or the scores are way off base, where the defense is not on the field very long. Those guys you want to kind of avoid. The other guys you want to kind of avoid are the ones that are giving up a lot of points, because obviously they're not getting the stats, the tackles, the interceptions, the turnovers, the sacks, tackles behind the line of scrimmage, whatever else is stat wise that your league uses. But that middle tier of teams that are borderline going to make have a chance to make the playoffs. Those are the teams you kind of want to target those players off of, because they've got something really to play for, and so they're looking to make plays all the time. They're pretty well coached, probably come from pretty good organizations. So those are the guys that we really want to kind of target, those middle teams. If you're a top 2 in your division, or top 6 in the conference, those guys you want to start looking for, and get yourself set up so you have players when they get into the actual NFL playoffs. You've got guys on your roster to put in, and not have to go searching for guys that are not playing later in your playoff your playoffs for your league. So keep in mind, one team I thought is getting much better defensively, obviously, and it's because of what their stats are going forward, is the Denver Broncos. And I'm not really jumping on the bandwagon because they got a huge win this past week, but you can see their guys are determined to get better, and they're determined to make plays, and they're running all over the field from sideline to sideline. So their secondary is getting better. Their linebackers, they've got young linebackers, and their defensive line is getting better. So that's a team to look at, for an example. Another example, Giants have some really good players on their defensive side, but they're just not geared up or putting the effort in that I believe they need to become a playoff team like they did last year. So, just keep your eye on that. I mean, use your own, judgment, and, just kind of common sense of, if the player is going to help you or not. So, and go from there. So I appreciate you listening. I rambled on a little bit today about injuries and stuff, but I sure appreciate your support and tuning in, listening to the podcast. I want to thank Fantasy Holics for allowing me to do this. I enjoy it. Working to try to get better, and hopefully, as we continue to work that direction, we'll get more followers and more people to bring in some more questions. So if you have questions, just send them to my Twitter page at IDP _Studz, STUDZ, and hashtag coach. So thank you again. Again, remember, defenses win championships, and I hope you have a good week on your leagues and come away a winner. So have a great evening and a great weekend. Thank you.